we always have a lot to get to. All right. So today we are going to spend a little bit of time reviewing the first part of your interim test that you took a few weeks ago. And then next week we'll go over the rest of it. I don't want to spend the entire time going over everything today because there's lots of different topics. And some of these topics you've never seen before or have had very little exposure to. And that's totally fine. So I don't want to give you too much new stuff in one day. So we'll look at numbers 1 through 10. And then you guys have been working on adding and subtracting like fractions, which is actually really simple. So at the end of class, we'll kind of work on what you're doing right now, which is just adding and subtracting. So, all right, first things first. Okay, we'll go to that interim test that you guys took. So a lot of these topics, like I said a couple minutes ago, are probably new to you, or maybe you just did a little bit of it in fifth grade. And that's totally fine. You're going to come to them at some point in the school year. And the whole point of taking this test is to show growth. So to show that you're going to take it again in the spring, and to show that you know more in the spring than you knew in the fall. So I'm sure that will be the case. All right. So for number 1, has anybody worked with ratios before and how to write ratios? No? It's actually a lot more simple than it might sound. You just have string A and it's 3 times as long as string B. So obviously you're going to write A first and then whatever for B. So what is the ratio of length of string A to the length of string B? And you're just going to say 3 to 1. So A is 3 times as big as B. So 3 to 1. So your only answer would be C. For ratios, you do that little colon that you see there, those 2 little dots. So no way to really explain that any further. It's just the way that you write a ratio. Here, let me clear this. And so as you're doing that, if it helps you, you can write an A and write the 3 underneath it and write a B for the 1. Okay. All right, number 2. Oh, well, this was exciting. We had a little bit of algebra. So they have this little table here, and then they have A and B that you had to figure out the values for. So really, when you're looking at a table like they have here, you need to figure out what they're doing to one column to end up with the second column. So you need to kind of look at the pattern that you see here. So what is the pattern from crystals to water? It looks like you multiply the crystals times 2, right? So here, let me go to my lovely little sketch pad here, and I get really excited because now I have other colors, so I like to do that. And that's probably the ugliest table I've ever drawn in my life, but that's okay. We're not here for beauty. And then the second column, it was 2, 4, 16, and B. Okay, so now I just kind of told you to get from that first column to the second column, it looks like they're multiplying by 2 because 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, or I guess you could think of it backwards. If you take this column first and you divide by 2, then you'll end up with the first column because 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So there's 2 ways to kind of go back and forth. So what is 16 divided by 2? Anyone? Christian. Oh, yeah, you can hold up your fingers. That's great. 8. Perfect. Now let's test it. Let's work the other way and just make sure that we're correct. 8 times 2 is 16. Yep, we're correct. So now this one's really easy. What's 16 times 2? You'll probably have to type that into the chat. You don't have enough fingers. That's right. 16 times 2 is 32. So now we need to just go find the answer that says A equals 8 and B equals 32. So let's go see. Looks like the answer would have been A. Okay? Give me a thumbs up if you're with me so far. Pretty easy. There's a couple that get a little more complex, but okay, so for number 3, oh, here we had that ratio stuff again, and it's going to help in this situation to draw a picture. So Tommy and Chris, they had $35 between them, and they shared it in the ratio of 4 to 3. So I'm going to draw a picture of that. How much money did Tommy receive? So I'm going to come over here. It's not quite as easy if you're working with 4 to 3 as it is to do something like 3 to 1. So let me change my color. Sorry, I'm obsessed with my colors now. Okay, so they said 4 to 3. So I'm just going to make 4 little marks just so you can kind of visualize it, and then 3. And what we have is $35. We have $35 split between 7 parts, okay? 4 parts here, 3 parts here. So we have 35 divided by 7. So what's 35 divided by 7? Anyone? You can hold up your hands. 5. Perfect. So now looking at this, I know that that's kind of how I'm going to be splitting it up. And I'm splitting up $35 total. So 5 represents each one of these little marks. So what's 5 times 4? Yeah, you could type it into the chat. 5 times 4. 20. And like I said, 5 represents each one of these little marks. So what's 5 times 3? 15. Beautiful. So the way that they're going to split up this money is one kid who gets more, the 4, he's going to get 20 bucks. And the kid who gets the 3 portion is only going to get 15. So I don't quite remember who was who. Let's go look again. Tommy and Chris. Tommy's the first kid. Okay. So Tommy is the one who gets the 4 portion and Chris gets the 3 portion. So how much money does Tommy get? $20, right? Okay. So really what I did, for me, it was helpful to draw the picture out, to make these little marks and say, okay, I'm working with 7 parts. So 35 divided by 7 equals 5. So each one of these parts is worth $5. And then you can figure out the ratio. So is that a little bit easier for that? Give me a thumbs up if that made sense. Okay. Oh, that's a cute baby, Dakota. Hi, baby Elizabeth. Okay, anyway. All right, going on. Okay, so we're on number 4. Okay, you guys have not worked with percents yet, but it's not a huge deal. We'll go through it, and you'll, of course, see this as the school year goes on. But we have 30% of the people at the concert were children, and there were 150 people. I'm sorry, 150 children. So how many people total were at the concert? So we know that the portion 30% equals 150. So I'm going to come over here, wipe this clean, and I'm going to write down what I know. What I know is that 150 kiddos is 30%. So I'm worried about finding that other 70%. There's a couple different ways to do this problem. And I'm going to show you both ways. What the heck? All right. First way is to write it out as a fraction. Here's what I know. 150 people out of total, I don't know. So I'm going to put an X there. Equals 30% out of my total 100%. So give me a thumbs up if this makes sense to you so far, what I just wrote. Okay. So what I'm trying to figure out is this total number right here. So what I can do a lot of different things. I can cross multiply, but let's just do the simplest thing possible. Um, what would I have to do, and just kind of ignore your zeros for now, what would I have to do to 3 to turn it into a 15? Go ahead, Kaylee P.
Multiply.
Yeah, you kind of cut out there, but I think you said multiply by 5, right? And that's right. So 5 times 30 equals 150. So what's 5 times 100? 500. So therefore, I just figured out my ratio by kind of just working backwards. And then, so let's just double check my work. 30 times 5 equals 150. Great. 100 times 5 equals 500. So my ratio here is balanced. Let's go and see if 500 is one of my options. And then I'm going to show you a different way to do it too. Yeah, it is. So there we go. Let me just show you another way to work out a problem like this. Okay, let's wipe this clean. So 150 equals 30%. Really, what I can do, I can figure out what 10% is. And if I know what 10% is, I can say 10%, 10%, 10%, and add it up. And, it becomes pretty easy. So just kind of ignore this percent sign for now. What is 150 divided by 30? 50, right? So we could double check that. 50 plus 50 plus 50 equals 150. So 50 equals 10%. 50 kids or whatever. So now, if I know that 50 equals 10%, I can come over here and remember we're trying to figure out the other 70%. That's what we don't know. I can come over here and I could add 50 up 7 times, or I could multiply it. And what do you know? I'll get the same, actually, I'll get 350. So 350 adults plus 150 kids. What does that equal? 500. Give me a thumbs up if that made sense. Okay, good. So that was 2 different ways to work that one problem out. I always kind of like to find 10% of a number, because then if I find 10% of a number, like I do this all the time when I'm out to eat. I'll just give you another example. This is just a teachable moment. What if my bill came to $28.15? I can figure out right away that 10% would be about $2.81. So if I want to tip 20%, I would just kind of mentally add those up, and I'd probably round it up to like $3. So $3 plus $3. And then I would say in my head, oh, a $6 tip would be about 20%. So just, yeah, all right. I'm taking that a little farther, but finding 10% of a number is a really valuable skill as far as life's concerned. But okay. All righty. We're on number 5. You can travel 20 miles in 4 hours on a bicycle. How far can you travel in 1 hour? So you're going to need to come and write it out as a new ratio. What do you know? You know that you can go 20 miles per 4 hours. What you want to know is how many miles you can go in only 1 hour. So basically, what do I have to do to 4 to turn it into a 1? I would have to divide by 4, right? 4 divided by 4 equals 1. So what if I did the same thing to the top? 20 divided by 4 equals, hold up your hand, 5. 5 miles. And if working backwards and multiplication is easier for you, you can check your work. 5 times 4 is 20. 1 times 4 is 4. So your ratio is balanced. So let's see, 5 miles. Here it is. There's your answer. Okay. Am I going too fast for anyone? No? Okay, well, here we are at number 6. And number 6, I think it's going to be helpful to draw a picture. Basically, we have a simple modeling clay recipe, and it calls for 1 cup of cornstarch to 2 cups of 2 cups of salt. I don't know where sea salt came from. How many cups of cornstarch are needed if I want to mix just 1 cup of salt? So I'm going to come over here and draw a picture of it. Wipe clean. There we go. Okay, so we had, I'm just going to say this is my cornstarch per 2 cups salt. So my ratio is 1 to 2. But the question asks me to cut this in half, to cut the salt in half and only have 1 cup. So how do I cut 1 in half? What does it become? If I cut 1 whole in half, it becomes, yep, you guys are typing it into the chat. Perfect. It becomes 1/2. So let's go find 1/2. And there it is. There's your answer, 1/2 a cup. Did that make sense? Sometimes going over and drawing a picture of what they're talking about of the ratio will be helpful. This is what they gave you. They gave you 1 cup of cornstarch to 2 cups of salt. And then they told you, we're going to take one of those away. So we took half of it away. So take half of this one away. And there you go. All right. Number 7. Oh, 7's easy. 7's just do you know how to divide? Well, let's figure it out. Okay, so we had 5,227 divided by 25. I do this a lot with my younger students. Sometimes it's helpful to write the steps of a long division problem so that you don't forget them. Does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers? Divide, multiply, subtract, check, bring down. Okay, so, everybody in Ashley's house is asleep. That's fantastic, Ashley. I'm glad you're awake. I'm going to give you guys, because you guys are 6th graders, you should be able to do this. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to work through this problem, and then I'll show you how I did it. So hopefully you have your scratch paper nearby. All right, got 1 answer so far. Got a couple answers, so we are just about ready, I think, to go through it. Dakota, how many groups of 25 fit into 52?
2.
2. Good. So that was our first step, divide. Couple ways to do that. Well, you should be able to do this in your head. What's 2 times 25?
50.
50. Good. Next step is to subtract. So 52 minus 50, we all know is 2. Next step is to check. Make sure that the 2 is smaller than your divisor, and it is. So you are good to go ahead with the next step, which is bring down. All right. Here's what fifth graders are just learning about, actually. I cannot fit a group of 25 into a 22. So I have to make a 0 up here in my quotient. So next step would be to multiply, and then I can bring down my 7. So now most people are telling me that 25 will fit into 227 9 times. So my next step is to multiply 9 times 25. You can come over here and do a little side problem if you want, or you can just watch what I'm about to do. Ashley, what's 9 times 5?
Uh, 45.
Good. And then I'll carry my 4. Ashley, what's 9 times 2?
18.
What's 18 plus 4?
22.
Perfect. Okay. So now my next step is to subtract 7 minus 5 is 2. And then to check, yes, 2 is smaller than 25. That's fantastic. Did they go to decimals or did they have a remainder? They went to decimals, so I have to keep going. Sorry. Okay, so now I'm going to add my decimal and add some zeros. Does 25 fit into 20? No. So I'm going to have to add a 0 here. And now I'm going to change this. Just imagine I did the subtraction. Bring down another 0. How many groups of 25 fit into 200? 8. That's right. And 8 times 25 is perfect. And so we have 209 and 8 hundredths. And there we go. There's your answer. All right. Number 8. Oh boy, number 8, we're going to have to do a little bit of work. Both sixth grade classes have to cover, so both, that means there's 2. So there's 2 sixth grade classes and they have to cover 35 math books each. Each book cover is made from 1/8 of a yard of fabric. They have 8.5 yards of fabric. Is there enough for both classes? Well, let's find out. Okay, so here's basically what your problem is. You have 8.5 yards divided by 1/8. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to change this into a improper fraction so that I'm actually able to do this problem. Has anybody ever done dividing fractions before? I think we had a little practice at the beginning of the year. It's not too hard. You're going to be multiplying by the reciprocal. Reciprocal means I'm going to switch the numerator and the denominator. So just stay with me. Let's do magic circle time and make 8.5 into an improper fraction. So, Ashley, what's 2 times 8?
16.
Okay. What's 16 plus 1?
17.
Okay, so 8.5 becomes 17 halves. Now, for division, I multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1/8 is 8 over 1. Okay, so now everybody work out 17 times 8. Go ahead and do that. You're close, Kaylee. I think you were off by just a couple numbers. Good. 136. That's right. And then, of course, 2 times 1 is just 2. So now, if I change this into just a regular number, I'm going to do the division problem. So see how many times 2 fits into 136. Go for it. 136 divided by 2. Good job, Dakota. Perfect. And I'm just showing everybody. Yay! It's a simple 68. So I have enough to cover 68 books. Oh, bummer. So your answer would be C. No, there's enough fabric to cover only 68 books. All right. And we, obviously, 35 plus 35 is 70. So, nope, didn't have enough. All right. Number 9. Which is the correct equation to compare the relationship between variables? Variables are the x and the y. So we need to figure out basically an equation that represents this table. So I'm going to redraw the table. I'm going to draw it in hot pink because I like pink. Maybe that's red. I don't know. Yeah, it's red. This is kind of a guess and check. Like they give you some options and you can plug it in and see which one actually works. But let's do it as far as thinking, the thinking way. All right. Um, so basically, we need to see what is it that they're going to do to X to come up with the Y column or Y row. Hmm. Looking at 0 and 6, that's not real easy to figure out. So let's try to figure it out using the next column. What would I have to do to a 1 to turn it into 11? I could multiply it by 5 and add 6, and that would work. Let's see if I could do that for this column and if that would actually hold true. What's 5 times 2? 10. 10 plus 6 is 16, so that would work. Let's go back to my first column and see if it would work for this column. What's 5 times 0? Hold up your hands. 0. 5 times 0 is 0. What's 0 plus 6? 6. Okay, so that would work. Do I have any options? 5 times x plus 6. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I do. So that is the only equation that would work. If you're completely lost on looking at the relationship between these two numbers, and you're just like, I don't know what it is they're doing to x to come up with y, just come down here and look at your choices and go and plug it in and see if it'll work. X plus 6, 0 plus 6, it works for this one. 1 plus 6, this would have to be a 7. So right away I know A doesn't work, and you can do that for all of them. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay. So, I mean, the best way is to figure out the relationship on your own, but the second way to do it is to come and just try each one of them. All right. Okay, I'm going to take a picture of number 10 because I am not going to spend the time to redraw this. Okay. All right, so there's my picture. A group of sixth graders were asked how many times they went to fast food restaurants in a month. The dot plot shows the results. What is the median of the data set? So median is pretty simple. Really, all I need to do to find median is I'm going to mark off the highest and then mark off the lowest and keep doing that until I end up with 1 dot. So, and if I end up with 2 dots, then I would average those 2 dots out. So let's do that. Okay, let's mark off the highest, mark off the lowest, mark off the highest, mark off the lowest, highest, lowest, highest, lowest, highest, lowest. dun, 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 dun. Okay. I'm glad I have different colors. Highest, lowest, highest, lowest, highest, lowest, highest, lowest, highest, lowest. And I'm just left with 6. So right away, I know that the median has to be 6. All right, give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. That's pretty easy, pretty fun, kind of like median. All right, last one that we're going to go over today, and then we can talk about the rest next week. You just have to kind of look at this graph. So I'm going to take a picture of this graph. Because there again, I'm not going to redraw it. All right, so we have 49 sixth graders, and they were surveyed on how many states they visited. Their responses are shown in the graph below. Which statement is true about the data? So really, let's just kind of glance at what the data is. It says number of students on the side, so 0 students all the way up to 25 students, and then the numbers of states. So obviously a small number of students have visited quite a few states. Lots of students have visited 0 to 10 states, and so forth. So now let's just do process of elimination and read our choices. 11 students visited exactly 20 states. Okay, guys, we don't have any exact numbers here. We have all ranges. 11 to 20, 21 to 30. So there is no way to tell. So I'm going to mark that off. 7 students visited exactly 21 states. Yeah, no. There's that word exact again. We can't tell from the data if it's exact. At least 6 students visited 31 states. Okay, let's go and look. Oh, yeah, okay. That's slightly over 5. I think that's probably it, but let's see. At least 33 students visited 20 states. Let's see. No, no way, because that's only 10 students. So our only response is that at least 6 kiddos went to 31 states. Okay? All right, guys, give me a thumbs up if the interim test is fun and exciting, but you're ready to move on. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully, if you missed any of these problems, you have a little bit of background on how to solve it for next time, or maybe you just found a different way to actually do some of these problems, even if you did get it correct. All right, so you guys are working on the very exciting skill of adding and subtracting like fractions. So that is ridiculously simple. Yay! All you need to do is, when you're adding, is you keep your denominator the same, and you're just going to add the numerators. So I'll do this one with you. What's 6 plus 2 plus 5 plus 3? You might have to think about it for a second because you're adding 4 different numerators, but okay. And I'm getting 16 elevenths. So I'm going to show you. Yeah. Okay, so 6 plus 2 plus 5 plus 3 is 16 elevenths, and that is a correct answer. It's in improper form. It's improper because my numerator is bigger than my denominator, so I can change this to a mixed number, which would be 1, because 11 fits into 16 one time, and then there would be 5 left over, so 1 and 5 elevenths. I'm pretty sure the computer wants me to type in 16 elevenths though, so let's... Oh, actually, well, I guess not. They wanted me to type in the mixed number, so okay, 1 and 5 elevenths. Perfect. So yeah, we are going to have to simplify. 6 plus 19 twentieths. Go ahead and type it into the chat. Unfortunately, you're going to have to take it a step farther and simplify. And that's right, Dakota, but now you need to simplify. Okay, I'm getting a couple different responses actually. So, okay, there's similar. Good, Christian. Christian, what's 6 plus 19?
25.
Perfect. So 25 twentieths. Now I have to make it into a mixed number. So how many groups how many groups of 20 fit into 25? Just one. And then 5 would be left over. But then this can be simplified because how many groups of 5 fit into 5? 1. How many groups of 5 fit into 20? 4. So the best answer, the most simple answer of all would be 1 and 1/4. So let's check. 1 1/4. Yay! Okay, subtracting. So, okay, this is super simple. 4/15 minus 3/15. Basically, what's 4 minus 3? Yeah, 1/15. Very good. Woohoo! All right, little bit harder. 8/19 plus 13/19 plus 13/19. Let's go ahead and write that one down. Clear it, sorry. Okay, so I'm seeing, good job, Christian. You added it up correctly, but now I need you to make it into simplest form. So think to yourself, how many groups of 19 fit into 34? Okay. Good job, TJ. Good job, Ashley. All right. It looks like 8 plus 13 plus 13 equals 34. So I have 34/19, but I can't leave it like that. So I think to myself, how many groups of 19 fit into 34, and then what's going to be left over? So one group of 19, and 34 minus 19 is 15. So the best answer of all would be 1 and 15/19. Let's check. Yay! All right, let's do a few more. 10/13 plus 1/13 plus 6/13. Simplest form. Kitty. Oh, that's a good kitty cat. Meow, meow, meow. What a good kitty. Good, Kaylee. Good, Ashley. Take a picture of this. Good, Jack. This is way too simple, but that's okay. All right, there we go. So most people are telling me that 10 plus 1 plus 6 is 17. So we have 17/13. And then we have to simplify. So how many groups of 13 fit into 17? 1. And what is left over is 4. So 1 and 4/13. Oh, whoops. I forgot to type in the 4. Well, whatever. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, this is simple. This is mental math. 10/13 plus 4/13 is 14/13. So 1, yes, there you go. 1 and 1/13. Yay! All right, guys, how are you feeling today about adding and subtracting like fractions? Thumbs up? It's pretty simple stuff, I would say. Let's take a look at your math class and just kind of see what's coming up in the future. It'll take just a second. Do, do, do. Oh, you know what? While I have most of my sixth graders here, let me, before I go to your math class to see what's coming up in the future, let me just point out your social studies because it's a little different. I've had to change a lot of things from the social studies class because um, your standards have nothing to do with basically the curriculum that we have in front of us. So I've been making my own stuff. All of us have turned in our Canada project, so we are done with this particular book. I have it open so you can go and look. But here is Canada Continued. Um, how many people saw the email I sent out yesterday with the site on it where you can go and add your Canada project to the site? Cool. Okay, so I'm going to show you two different things. I created a site, and you're going to add your Canada project that you've already done to the site. And then next week, here's going to be a new assignment. So let me just take you to the website. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So when you get there, you're going to notice all of the Canadian provinces along the side. I put some maps up of the Western Hemisphere. Second semester, we're going to start studying Latin America. So I'm going to make a bunch of new pages for Latin America. You don't need to necessarily worry about that yet, but just kind of know that it's coming. So what you'll do is, let's just say you did Alberta. You'll click on your province. And then notice how TJ uploaded all of his Canada project. And then I just made a little comment and I said, hey, this is cool. Maybe you can put a picture of Alberta in this blank space or something. And then right down here is all of his stuff that he did for his Canada project. So you can just go and find your province or your territory and upload your work. See where it says add files? That's where you're going to click to add whatever it is that you did. Maybe you did a PowerPoint or a Google presentation. So let me just show you how to do that. If you click on add files, I'm just going to find it in my list and upload it. And I don't want to upload any of that stuff. So yeah, pretty easy. Just a little FYI about that. Oops. It's not really where I meant to go. Let's go back. So next week, it says visit the site, and it's the site we were just on. Read the article on Canada's best field trips. Pick your favorite and write a one paragraph describing the trip you would like to take. So let me just show you where to find it again. Oh, lucky you. I linked right to it. On the actual website, though. Well, there's a link that says Canada Project or Canada Field Trips, and you would just click that link. But I made it even easier for you. I just linked it right away. So you'll just click on this, and then you can see it has a bunch of different field trips, 10 different field trips for you to choose from. So it's only a couple pages of reading. It's this page, and then this first page. Okay, so I've got a couple questions in the chat. Yeah, Dakota, if you want to pull up your Canada project, we can look at it in just a minute. So just have it on your screen and ready to go, okay? And Jack says, on my computer, it did not show the Canada project continued. It should now, because I've opened the eye on it. So you should be able to, you should definitely be able to see it. All right, let's... And what I mean by open the eye, I'll just show you. You're looking at my view, so you can kind of see what I see when I look at my classes. See how this stuff is grayed out? That means on your screen, you can't see it if it's gray. But see, it's not gray anymore. So now you can see it. Okay? All right, Jack? Cool. All right, so that was just a little FYI about social studies, just so that you know. In math, looks like, and see all those gray topic blocks? You can't see those anymore. Okay, so here we are with what we just practiced, adding and subtracting like fractions. And this whole topic block needs to be done by November 30th. And so now you're going to be adding and subtracting unlike fractions coming up next week. I'll just give you a little heads up. I'll let you practice it first. Um, but I mean, it's pretty simple. To add and subtract unlike fractions, you're just going to find a common denominator so that the bottom numbers of your fractions are the same, and then you'll be able to add them up, no problem. So we will practice that a little bit more next week, and then we will also maybe look at some adding and subtracting mixed numbers. So I'm going to turn it over to Dakota because he has his Canada project that he's going to share. So Dakota, you're going to see something on your screen that says show my screen. Just click it.
This right here is what I did for my Canada project.
Okay, we'll go through it for us.
I did the biographer.
Okay. Well, fantastic. Tell us a little bit about Ontario. You don't necessarily have to read every single thing, but maybe pick out like the most interesting thing from this particular slide and tell us that.
Um, One of the cool things that I found out was that Niagara Falls reaches from the border of Ontario to New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's halfway in the United States and it's halfway in Canada. That's right.
And here's a picture of the Canada's flag.
Uh-huh.
And if I could find it, uh in 1917 the women gained the right to vote in the provincial elections.
Very good. And did you know that in America, women didn't have the right to vote until I believe it was 1919? So Canada looks like they were a little ahead of the game.
The War of 1812 was another one that I thought was pretty cool.
So they fought a lot of the War of 1812 there, and it
Right.
looks like it was the United States against Britain again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hurricane Hazel, which was, if I remember correctly, one of the most devastating things that happened in Ontario, Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. It was very destructive.
Killing 81 people and leaving thousands homeless.
That's right. If you think about hurricanes today, and this was in 1954, this one happened, we have such good predictions now of hurricanes that we can tell people to evacuate a lot sooner. And so you
Right,
don't see usually deaths ranging that high.
right. And here's the famous people that I found.
Oh, wow. John Candy, huh? Huh. I'll be darned.
And this is about the Northern Lights. The Northern Lights happen when the temperature suddenly drops and it gets colder.
Mm-hmm.
And here's some pictures of them.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Up there, the closer you get to like the Arctic Circle and whatnot, the farther north basically you go. Like they can see it a lot in like Sweden and Finland, and Of course, Canada and Alaska. Yeah, it's just when the temperature drops and the air pressure just has the correct mix, you get the aurora borealis and the beautiful northern lights.
And here's the famous tower that they call in Ontario the tower that touches the sky.
Hmm.
And the tower that touches the sky is twice as high as the leaning, I mean, twice the height of the Eiffel Tower.
Wow. Jeez. So it has
And
lots of, yeah.
and here it is right here.
Wow. That's huge. Huh. So I bet a lot of tourist attractions or a lot of tourists go and visit that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And in Canada, they have the top-notch healthcare, which
Hmm.
is the best in the world.
Yeah. Yep.
And in there in Canada, they do hockey, ice skating, and other sports.
Yep. Those are big ones though because of the weather.
And music, the one that I really liked was Shania Twain, a country singer that her family got killed and she had to take care of her little brothers.
Hmm. Yeah, she did, and then she moved to Nashville and Nashville, Tennessee, here in the United States, and she became really famous. Most people do know who Shania Twain is. Yep.
And that's my presentation.
Well, that was a fantastic presentation. I can't wait to see it uploaded on our sixth grade Canada, or I should say Western Hemisphere site. Um, yeah, but we are done for today, guys. You all did really, really well. So I'm quite proud of your progress on just everything. So, any other questions before I let you go? No. Okay. Well, then I will see you all Monday morning. So have a good weekend.